Hi guys, well it's 2015, I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought I'd do a bit of a how-to on how to make a Terminator computer chip or CPU chip. I made one of these before out of old computer components, and I'm going to repeat that technique and actually show you how I did it this time round. This time round though, I'm going to make a red version so that it matches a little bit more closely to the original movie version. As before, I've got a collection of old computer components and bits and pieces and everything else that I'm going to use to give it that sort of ultra-realistic look to it. The phone you can see there is the screen in that one is very similar to the one I used in the programmable head version. They're a really good source for sort of micro screw components and keypads, and the bits that you see there are actually mini Fresnel lenses that actually came out of just one phone. It just gives you a bit of an idea that some of the junk electronic components can be a really good source for adding details to props and things. So what I'm using for the base of the CPU chip is an old motherboard. The difference this time is I've been able to actually find a red one. The reason why I'm going for a motherboard instead of some of the other electronic components is that it's basically because the circuitry on the motherboard is much more tightly packed, and for the purpose of what I'm doing, it just creates a little bit more interesting surface for what I'm trying to achieve. I've picked out 3 different areas there that might be useful in terms of the patterns that are sort of interesting on there. The one with the sticker there sort of might be in the way a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to cut those out and see how they go and pick out the best of the 3. So I've cut these out on a bandsaw, but you could also use a pair of tin snips or something like that if you needed to. I'll set aside the other bits and pieces for later on, and I'll probably pinch out a couple of small components for them as well. So one side is already sort of fairly flat, but the other side still contains some electrical bits and pieces, so they need to be sort of removed and sort of flattened out on both sides so that they're tidied up and ready to use. I'm pretty sure this is the one I'm going to go with, but we'll see after I've given a bit of a clean up. Now that I've given them a hit on the disc sander, I'm pretty sure the winner in the 3 is this one. Base it pretty much on the same size as the one I did originally. Even with the light sanding that's there, you can see that the details are going to sort of come out. It's only a 120 grit paper on the disc, but I'll go over to a hand sanding now with a lighter paper so that I can just take off some of the lacquer and highlight some of the gold details that are in the circuitry. I'm only using a 240 grit paper, which is just enough to sort of get off any of the printed logo information that's on the lacquer and just highlight some of that gold circuitry underneath. So the next thing to do once I've got it cleaned up a little bit is to square off the edges and work out the proper shape of it. In the special edition of Terminator 2 there was actually an oversized chip that was actually used. So they did that so they could pick it up a bit better in filming. But I'm basing this one on the specs that I've been able to find that sort of govern what they consider to be the true size. So now that I've squared up the edges with the sander, I just used a small file to create the cutaway section. And now I'm just going to go around the outside edge with a black marker pen just to make it look a little bit tidier. This time around I've been able to find the little mini computer chips from my local electronics store. Last time I had to cut out each little square by hand, and that took quite a long time. There's 30 of the little chips in all, 15 on each side. They needed a little bit of work. Unfortunately the back half of them was actually rounded, and I needed to sand them flat before I could glue them on. As you can see here too, I bent down the terminals and then actually cut them off, leaving a little bit of the terminal sort of exposed so that they do a bit more to enhance the realism look that I'm going for. The other small component pieces you can see there are actually taken from the motherboard as well. I glued all the pieces down with a 5-minute araldite, which made for a really good bond. And overall I think it's made for a fairly convincing little prop piece. So I'm going to try and introduce some new ideas to the videos I'm posting now. You'll notice a new section at the end of this video where you can actually click on a link to actually find some extra content. And this time around that'll include a step-by-step fact sheet on how to actually make one of the computer chips for yourself. Also you can help me out by clicking on that like button, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. You can also now donate to the channel if you'd like to help me make more videos. Thanks for watching guys, talk to you next time.